Not all areas in the Kansas City metro are created equal. Some areas are absolutely skyrocketing and others not so much. Knowing the right area to buy your Kansas City home could be the difference between a great investment and a costly mistake. So here are the top 10 areas to buy a home in Kansas City in 2025. Number 10 is Harrisonville, Missouri. Located 30 minutes south of downtown Kansas City, Harrisonville is a small town right in the middle of Cass County. If you don't know where Cass County is, that's a county south of the downtown metro. There's only about 10,000 people that live in Harrisonville, and you're going to find a ton of affordable homes as it is the most affordable area on this list. One trend that I've seen is that people are moving farther away from the center of the metro in order to get into these more rural areas. And once I get to the second most desirable area in 2025, then I will tell you my theory as to why I believe people are moving out to rural areas in the Kansas City metro. Now, back to Harrisonville. The reason that it appears on this list is because home prices jumped about 8% from 2024 compared to 2023. The reason that people enjoy Harrisonville is because it blends the charm of small town living with the accessibility of only being 30 minutes away from downtown Kansas City. One of my clients who moved out to Harrisonville from downtown says it's completely different as you would expect. He used to live in downtown in the one light, two light towers, and he moved out there in order to take care of aging, sick parents. And Harrisonville was where he grew up and where he was from, but he hadn't been there in a long time. So he decided to hit me up, buy a home in Harrisonville, and move down there. And he says, man, the pace of life is completely different. The hustle and bustle of downtown is gone. It's small town. You don't have to leave. You can go to the local Aldi. You can go to the local grocery shops and just have everything you need at the tips of your fingers. But it is small town. So I will leave that up to you to decide whether or not you like small town living, because if you don't, then Harrisonville may not be for you. Now, if you're new to this channel, I make videos to help you relocate to Kansas City. The way that I made this list was simple. I took all the data of the homes sold in a certain area in 2024, and I compared it to the same data of the homes sold in 2023. And the ones with the biggest increase ended up on this list. And if you're new to this channel and you're thinking of moving to Kansas City, subscribe and reach out because we help tons of people relocate from all over the country. Right now, we have clients from California, Tennessee, Wisconsin, and Utah making their way to Kansas City, buying a new home, and you could be one of them. 816-4-MOVE-KC is our number. Again, that's 816, the number 4-MOVE-KC. Call us or text us. We have a whole team of agents ready to help you move to Kansas City. Number 9 on this list is Smithville, Missouri. Smithville is about 20 miles directly north of downtown, and it should take you about 20 to 30 minutes to get there from downtown, depending on where in Smithville you want to go. Another small town of only about 10,000 people, just like Harrisonville. The thing to note about Smithville is the beautiful lake up there. You can't live on the lake, unfortunately, because it's owned by the Army Corps of Engineers, so there's no houses that are going to go right up to the lake, so it's not best for lakefront living. However, you can go fish, you can boat, you can swim, and for what I like to do, which is golf, there's 2 very, very challenging golf courses up in Smithville Lake. It's called the Paradise Point Golf Complex. It's the Outlaw and the Posse. So for you golfers who are moving to Kansas City, for my money, those are 2 of the tougher courses, especially when the winds off the lake are blowing really, really hard. It's pretty easy access to Smithville as well. You just go straight up the 169 all the way up there. I was just out there negotiating a home, and there are a number of newer communities that have been developed there in the past 20 years. The people who live up there describe it as quiet, as peaceful, as tranquil. Over the weekends, they love going down to Smithville Lake, taking their boats. A lot of people have boats, taking their boats down there and enjoying the lake. Now, if you don't like the outdoors, then maybe Smithville doesn't have the best scene for you. If you're looking for urban living, probably not for you. But if you want a newer house, you want something that's built in the 2000s, and you want a quaint little downtown area with an awesome lake, Smithville could be the community for you. There were 237 homes sold in Smithville last year, which was a 25% increase compared to 2023. So you can see people are relocating up there. And again, if you stay until number 2, I will tell you my theory for the reason why. I've thought about this a lot. I've had a lot of clients do it myself, and I'll tell you why I think these rural areas in Kansas City are growing. When you take the change in the median and the average price point from 2024 to 2023, the market in Smithville has grown about 8%. So you're pretty safe in investing in a home up in Smithville, and you're pretty safe when you invest in a home out in Smithville because it is not only outpacing a lot of areas in the Kansas City metro, but it is outpacing the national average of 5% as well. Number 8 is my first Kansas entry on the list, and that is Mission, Kansas. Mission, Kansas is our first Kansas and Johnson County entry on this list. Now, if you don't know the counties, let me show you a couple of the areas that I'm talking about on a map, because I know a lot of you who are relocating here are just like, whoa, where are these places that he's talking about? So let me show you on a map right now. Okay, so you have the Kansas City metro here, and down here is Harrisonville, which I was talking about earlier. That's a small town of 10,000 people, and then you've got Smithville all the way up here, right? That's a small town of 10,000 people. Now, this area that I'm talking about right here, Mission, Kansas, is this really small location here. And there's a good reason that Mission is growing. Look how close you are to downtown Kansas City, but you're also in Johnson County, which is the most desirable, which is one of the most desirable areas in the Kansas City metro. Johnson County is Overland Park, Prairie Village, Mission Hills, Fairway, Shawnee, Miriam. All of these areas are Johnson County. Lenexa is included in that, Olathe down south, but Mission is one of the unique areas that you still get the Johnson County benefits and amenities, but you also have a very close commute if you want to go to downtown Kansas City. And also the reason that is growing is while Johnson County can be very, very high priced, in fact is the highest priced community in the Kansas City metro area, Mission is relatively affordable. The median price point in Mission was $330,000 in 2024, which is an 11% increase in 2020 from 2023. There's 20% more homes sold in 2024 and 2023, so you can see Mission, Kansas is a rapidly growing area. The downside of Mission is that if you're looking for a home specifically in Mission, you're probably going to end up in Shawnee or Miriam or one of the surrounding areas, because to get into Mission specifically, there's just not that many homes to choose from. As you can see from the map, it was a relatively small area, and it's very, very competitive even in the slower market to get a home in Mission. Moving from Mission, staying in Kansas though, our number 7 area is Leavenworth, Kansas. Again, staying on the Kansas side, the most notable thing about Leavenworth is the fort up there. There is a military fort where there's 5,000 active duty personnel, and it's a city of about 40,000 people. So it's a little bit larger area in Kansas City than some of these other areas. I will say that out of this entire list, Leavenworth probably feels the most isolated or disconnected. And I don't necessarily say that as a bad thing, because you don't ever have to leave Leavenworth if you don't want to. Let me show you this on a map, because there's only 2 real ways to get into Leavenworth, and that can kind of limit your travel in and out, especially on a day where we had a lot of snow. We just had a lot of snowfall. And in Leavenworth, I would imagine it was really, really hard to get in and out of Leavenworth. So Leavenworth is located in the northwest quadrant of the Kansas City metro. And what you can see is that the 73 going into Leavenworth and the 92 coming into Leavenworth, those are basically the only ways to access Leavenworth from Kansas City. Of course, there's these smaller streets that you can take into Leavenworth, but in terms of highways, that's about it. Also, it feels disconnected because you see, as I zoom out here, you're very, very close geographically to the Northland, but it's very difficult to access Leavenworth from the Northland. You would have to go down 152, up 45, through Platte City, and then through the 92 to get into Leavenworth. Now, if you do get there, there's a ton of things to do. There's a great golf course that's on Fort Leavenworth called, I think it's called Prairie Trails or something like that. Used to play that all the time. It's also relatively affordable. You're going to find on this list that a lot of these price points are not in the higher echelons, except for I think number 3 is in the higher echelon price point, and definitely number 1. So you're going to want to stick around for that. But a lot of these high growth areas are in relatively affordable areas. So if you're looking for your first home, you're looking for to move from a higher price point metro to a place where you can affordably buy a home, this is the place for you. And we love working with first-time homebuyers, so 816-4MOVE-KC is the way to get a hold of us. When you look at the average and median prices in Leavenworth, you're going to find that homes sold last year right between $240,000 to $260,000, and that's a 9.5% increase from 2023. I've also shown some of the oldest homes that I've ever seen in the Kansas City metro in Leavenworth. I mean, homes that are built in like the mid
1800, these beautiful Victorian style homes. I don't know if I would actually move my family into one of them because you do have a lot of issues. Like I've never seen one without foundation issues. Now, by no means have I ever seen all of them. Have I seen all of them in the metro? But most of them that I show, these old Victorians have, really, really big issues. And that's kind of what you get when you have a home that's over 200 years old in some instances. Another thing that people move to Leavenworth to do is to work at the penitentiary. There's also a VA medical center up in Leavenworth. So there's a ton of commerce up there. There's a tons of jobs up there. And you can see that's why Leavenworth has grown. Moving from Leavenworth, moving from an area on the outskirts of the metro, moving right smack dab into the Kansas City metro, right in the middle of the Kansas City metro is our number 6 area, and that is North Kansas City. Now, you have to listen to me carefully. If you're going to move to Kansas City and you're going to talk about the area north of the river, that is referred to as the Northland. So let me show you on a map because you don't want to sound like a silly person when you come here and get made fun of for not knowing the difference between North Kansas City and the Northland, right? I can tell you, though, I have made that mistake so many times before I learned the difference. I lived here for almost a year before I knew the difference, okay? So North Kansas City is a municipality within the Kansas City metro, and you can see the lines are well defined here, okay? This is North Kansas City. I'm going to get into all the things to do in North Kansas City and the median home prices in North Kansas City. It's a desirable place to live because, look, as I zoom out, you are right smack in the middle of absolutely everything, right? You can go downtown, you can go to the Northland, whatever you want. Now, when I say the Northland, I'm talking about the whole area north of the river, okay? Probably not including Platte City. I don't think people include Platte City in the Northland, although it depends on who you talk to, right? But when somebody's talking about like up north or the Northland, it's this general area in Kansas City. When somebody's talking about North Kansas City, it is this separate municipality that we are talking about as our number 6 area, the best area to buy a home. And then if somebody is talking about Kansas City North, okay, I don't really hear that terminology. Of course, I've only been here for 6 years and I've talked to tons of people. I've just really never heard Kansas City North. It's either the Northland or North Kansas City, referring to 2 different areas. So don't get it twisted if you don't want to get made fun of when you come to Kansas City. I'm just kidding. Nobody here is going to make fun of you. Everybody understands that there's so many transplants here and they're super friendly about it. Now, just like Miriam, North Kansas City is a very small area like you saw before with a very limited amount of homes in inventory. The challenge is going to be finding a home in North Kansas City. When I first came here from California, let me tell you a short story about North Kansas City. When I first came here from California, if you don't know me, I'm a California boy, born and raised in Los Angeles, and I was missing In-N-Out Burger. If you don't like In-N-Out Burger, well then shame on you, because In-N-Out Burger is the best burger in the entire world, at least according to my estimation, okay? So when we first came out here, I was craving a good burger, and I was directed to Tay's in North Kansas City. Still a good burger. Tay's, love your burger, not In-N-Out, not quite In-N-Out, okay? Another thing that we used to do in North Kansas City, we used to live up in Gladstone, which is an area on this list that's going to be coming up. So we used to live up in Gladstone, and we would come down to North Kansas City for Wagon Trails Dog Park. Okay, it wasn't a golf thing. It was a dog park. So Albus would run around at Wagon Tails, and it was great. It had 2 areas, like an area for big dogs, area for little dogs. Awesome area. Another big thing about North Kansas City is that Armour Road and the areas surrounding it is very industrial, but also tons of things to do. Awesome places to eat, cool places to hang out. They just opened up the Rabbit Hole, which if you look at our kids' vlog of Kansas City, was one of the newest attractions in Kansas City that I took my kids to explore. It's like this whole thing, especially if you have kids that are like 5 to 10, right in their wheelhouse, because it's all these like kid stories come to life. Really, really cool area. So prices in North Kansas City have gone up almost 12% in 2024 compared to 2023. If you're looking for a home in North Kansas City, you're looking to pay in the high 200,000s, anywhere from $275,000 to $290,000. And that's appreciated, like I said, 12% since 2023. Now, I already gave you a hint at our next area. Gladstone is our next area at number 5. When we first relocated here to Kansas City, we picked a home in Gladstone, not even knowing too much about the area. We just said, somebody suggested us, hey, Gladstone is a good area. And we're like, okay, cool. We've never been there before. We bought a home without even looking at it, okay? Without even like knowing exactly what it was all about and what the city was all about. The first time we stepped into our Gladstone home was after we bought it, okay? So don't recommend doing it that way. But bought a home there almost 6 years ago, and the way I would describe Gladstone after living there, almost 3 years. We're no longer there now. We live in Kansas City proper now. It's perfect for a family who likes to hang out at and around home. Okay, so if you're a family that basically kind of are homebodies, and I don't mean that in any pejorative sense of the word. I mean that like you like being home, you grill, you cook, you have family functions, you have game nights. And once in a while, you might go to the park down the road. Gladstone is one of the best areas to move to because it's got parks galore, got good walking trails, it's got good outdoors areas. You're smack dab in the middle of everything. So if you want to get down to downtown, you can in 20 minutes. We had a lot of friends in the Northland, so we would visit them. And Gladstone is like right in the middle of the Northland. So you can go to Parkville or you can go to Liberty, about equal amounts of time. So I really think that's cool. Gladstone is also completely surrounded by Kansas City. It's a very strange kind of shaped city. So let me show you on a map exactly what I mean, because it's kind of hard to explain. I'm sure there's a whole history to this. I don't know if you guys care about that history, but it's very interesting as to why Gladstone is shaped the way it is. So you can see if you're here in this area, you're not in Gladstone, and then Gladstone is the red area. So if you drive up 29, there's like 5 seconds where you're passing through Gladstone, and down here there's some homes in Gladstone as well. So it's very strange area. We used to live near the intersection of Northeast 72nd and the 1, or nobody calls it the 1. Every time I say like the 1 or like the 35, it's because I'm Californian, and that's kind of what I grew up calling these highways and freeways, like the 210, the 605, all that stuff. But hard to break these old habits, right? It's just called Highway 1 or Antioch, more commonly called Antioch. Okay, we used to live right near this high V, and this is a cool area. Tons of parks, tons of walking trails. Happy Rock Park was an area that we frequented. If you want to know more about Gladstone, go ahead and check out our vlog tour of Gladstone. There's tons of really cool homes, really neat homes up there. In fact, I'm actually helping somebody relocate from another area of Kansas City to Gladstone, and they want to be there because it's in the North Kansas City School District. So that's a really cool thing to note too. Solid school district in Gladstone, and a desirable area to live. Getting past number 5, the top 4 areas. Number 4 is Riverside, Missouri. Riverside, Missouri is located in the Park Hill School District. It's in an area desired because of the excellent schools and also the proximity to downtown. So it's hard to explain the desirability of Riverside unless you see it on a map, because once you see it, you're going to know exactly why people want to move to Riverside. Riverside is this area right here. So besides North Kansas City, you really can't get closer to living near downtown in the Northland. So Riverside is located, like I said, in the Northland, and there's tons of outdoor activities in Riverside, but you can see how easy it is to hop on 29 and just go all the way down to downtown, and you're probably there in 10-15 minutes no matter where you are in Riverside. There's also the casino and hotel in Riverside, and there are new developments in Riverside as well. There's a brand new, like over $100 million amphitheater that has just been approved coming to Riverside. So if you're looking for an area that's like right near downtown in the Northland, in one of the top school districts in all of Kansas City, that confluence makes Riverside one of the best areas to live, to buy a house in 2025. However, if you want to live in Riverside, you're going to have to kind of pay for it, right? Like I said, it's one of the higher price point areas on this list. The median home price increased 21% to $635,000 from $522,000. That's a huge increase. And so overall, the market in Riverside increased 12% from 2023 to 2024. That is a big increase, and there's tons of new builds going on in Riverside too. So if you want a new home and that's in your budget, that might be an area to look for if you're looking for good schools and you want to be right near downtown. The number 3 area, getting to the top 3, is Lawson. Lawson is located way up in the northeast corner of the Kansas City metro. Let me show you where it is on a map. Lawson is past Kearney and past Excelsior Springs, so I would say it's probably right at the edge of the Kansas City metro. Now look, I know there's a debate in the comment section as to what is considered a part of the Kansas City metro and what is not. I'm just going off of what Google says. Google says Lawson is part of the Kansas City metro, and people in Lawson say that they're in Kansas City too, okay? I know people who are selling their home in Lawson, and when I go to meet with them and they say, look, we are in Kansas City. They tell everybody they're in Kansas City because that's their closest metro area. I think once you get past Lawson, then you're kind of,
I don't know, in nowhere land. But if you're in Lawson, I still think you're in Kansas City. If you disagree, go ahead and drop me a comment about why Lawson is not part of the Kansas City metro. But what is indisputable is that homes in Lawson have definitely skyrocketed. So Lawson is another area that's affected by this trend towards small town living. Average price home in Lawson is $329,000. That's up 16% from 2023. And the median price is $284,000. That's up 11%. Combined total, the Lawson market is up 14% from 2023 to 2024. So that's a big jump for a rural area. It's as small as Harrisonville, probably a little bit smaller than Smithville even. But you can see there's a big trend of these smaller areas climbing up to the top. Now, as I get to number 2, let me share with you part of my theory of why these areas are growing so much, these rural areas. I make these videos periodically throughout the year, and these small towns kind of show up on this list. Lawson, Odessa, Buckner, sometimes Excelsior Springs, sometimes Harrisonville, just depending on, the time of the year. And I have two different theories, okay? My first theory is this, that out-of-towners are moving to Kansas City in record numbers, okay? I've had tons of clients last year move from California, move from New York, move from Florida. They're just relocating here. And when you're moving from Southern California, and take it from me as a Southern California, born and raised person, I would know, okay? A 30 to 45 minute commute, let's just say you live in Lawson and you have a job in downtown and you need to commute 45 minutes. For a Californian, bro, that's nothing for us, okay? We do that in our sleep, okay? We go 45 minutes. We go 45 minutes in our car and we're like, dude, that was it, right? Because we're so used to that. I talk to people who are relocating here and they're like, I'll drive 45 minutes for my job. That's totally fine. I'll drive 55 minutes. It's cool. I used to do that in California. Now, whether or not they want to do that after a year or two of living here is another, is another conversation. But what's really attractive is, like, if you're looking like me from a Californian coming in where the lots are like, you're looking at a, 1,700 square foot home on a 5,000 square foot lot in Southern California. And for the same money, you could get like 10 acres in Lawson. Sometimes you're like, dude, I'll do it. And then I'll commute 45 minutes to downtown and I'm cool. And that's why these rural areas are growing, because you're kind of shocked at what you can get from these different areas. The number 2 reason that I think these areas are growing is because I help people who are lifelong Kansas City residents sell their home in the central parts of the Kansas City metro and move out to these extremities. They're moving out to Lawson. They're going out to Kearney. They're going out to Harrisonville. They're moving all of these different places. And you know what? Like, if you're moving from Liberty to Lawson, Lawson was how Liberty was when these people were growing up. Small town, not too much going on, really quiet. And now Liberty is like this hustling, bustling, crazy metropolitan area. Like, that is like smack dab in the Kansas City metro. I mean, it's not smack dab in the middle, but it's in the northeast corner, right? And so people are nostalgic for that. Like, man, I remember when Liberty was a lot slower, and so I'm going to move out to Lawson and replicate that experience. I'm going to move out to Odessa. I'm going to move out to these areas. That's my theory as to why these areas are growing so much. Is that you have people who have seen how much their homes have appreciated in Liberty, but they've also, they also don't want to be in the middle of the hustle and bustle, and they just want to go out to a quieter place. Those are my 2 theories. Whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, I guess remains to be seen. Drop a comment below if you think I'm wrong. Drop a comment below if you think I'm right, okay? How about this? Like this video if you think I'm right, okay? Drop a comment below if you think I'm wrong. Do whatever you want. But in the end, we're up to our number 2 area, and I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know a ton about our number 2 area. I've only shown like 3 houses in this area, and it's an area called Buckner, Missouri. It's over on the east side of the Kansas City metro, and Buckner, there's only like 53 homes sold in Buckner in all of 2024, and that's down 2 homes because there were 55 homes sold in 2023. But the average price point has skyrocketed from $219,000 in 2023 all the way up to $270,000 in 2024. And the median price point went up from $198,000 in 2023 all the way up to $225,000 in 2024. That's a 13% increase. Combine those 2 numbers, that's a 17.95% increase. Buckner, Missouri real estate is blowing up. Now, if you told me what's out there, I'm sure they have grocery stores out there. Driving through, look like a quiet, nice little town. I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what specifically about this town is making it blow up so much, because you can find areas like that. Odessa, Oak Grove,
Grain Valley. Now, some of those areas are just off this list, but for some reason, people are moving to Buckner. Now, that leads us to the number one area, the moment you've all been waiting for. But let me throw in some honorable mention, okay? So the first 5 off the list were Leawood, Kansas, Odessa, Missouri, Merriam, Kansas, Oak Grove, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. All of those areas, the real estate there appreciated right about 6 to 7% year over year. So great areas to buy. I own property in Kansas City, Kansas. Great area to buy, especially Strawberry Hill. Oak Grove is a small town, not necessarily as small as like Buckner or Harrisonville, a little bit bigger than that, but it's a small town on the east side of the Kansas City metro. Awesome area as well. Linwood is right below Leavenworth. All of these areas are cool areas to buy, but the number one area is Weatherby Lake. Now, if you don't know where Weatherby Lake is, first let me tell you these absurd numbers, and then I'll show you. There were only 20 homes sold in Weatherby Lake in 2024. That is down 40% from the 33 homes that were sold in 2023. Now, this is crazy, okay? The average home price in Weatherby Lake in 2023 was $637,000. That grew all the way up to $835,000 in 2024. Shot up, crazy, right? And then the median home price went up from $500,000 to $772,000. Insane. That means you combine those percentages, the market in Weatherby Lake, in terms of just price, went up 42%. The reason is because, and you'll know exactly why when I show you here. The reason people want to be up here in Weatherby Lake is because it is probably the biggest lake besides Smithville, okay? You see how big Smithville is, right? Big honkin' lake. But Weatherby Lake is a pretty decently sized lake in the Kansas City Northland. I think that's the reason why. You're super close to the city. You can be 15 minutes and you can be downtown, but you're also living on a lake. Like all of these houses here are on a lake. Exclusivity, really cool area to drive around. If you're familiar with Lake Arrowhead, okay, where I grew up, Southern California, we went to Lake Arrowhead for the weekend. If you're familiar with Lake Arrowhead, driving around Weatherby Lake is kind of like Lake Arrowhead. Driving around Lake Arrowhead, you got these really windy roads. Some people might think it's a little bit inconvenient, but apparently people love living there. Now, if you want a tour of some of these areas in Kansas City, hey, don't click off this video. Click onto this one.